At my son's wedding, his bride told me to leave. I canceled the wedding funding, then this happened. Please stay with me as I tell my story. And please, do not forget to support our channel by subscribing to our channel, liking our videos, and sharing your loved ones. Your support means the world to us. Now to our story. She leaned in with that fake smile and whispered, "You're not welcome here, old man. Leave before you ruin our photos." I had just paid for the entire wedding. The band was playing softly in the background. The photographer was snapping pictures like his life depended on it, and guests were smiling, clapping as the bride and groom made their entrance. I stood near the edge of the crowd, trying not to feel too out of place. But I already did. No one had spoken to me much all day. Not the bride, not her parents, not even my own son beyond a quick, "Hey Dad," when I arrived. I had chalked it up to nerves. Weddings are stressful, I thought. Maybe everyone's just busy. But then she came over. Still wearing her perfect white gown, bouquet in one hand, she approached me with the biggest smile I'd seen all day. People were watching, so I smiled back. She leaned in like she was going to say something sweet, maybe thank me for everything I'd done. Instead, she whispered, "You're not welcome here. Leave before you ruin our photos." I stood frozen for a second. I actually laughed, thinking it was a joke. But she wasn't laughing. She was already turning away before I could say a word. I stood there, blinking as it hit me. She meant it. I had paid for everything: venue, catering, flowers, the band, even the damn monogram napkin. When my son told me he wanted a big wedding, I said, "Of course." I wanted to support him, to be there for him like I had been since his mom passed years ago. I helped them find the location, booked the vendors, even covered their honeymoon to Hawaii. Her parents barely pitched in a dime. They showed up today like royalty, acting like they owned the place. I watched her walk back toward my son, who didn't seem to notice our little exchange. My heart was pounding, but my mind was clear. I pulled out my phone, scrolled to the banking app, and tapped on the wedding credit card. "Freeze card," it asked. I tapped yes. The music kept playing. Laughter still rang out across the room. But the money? That stopped. The caterer wouldn't be paid. The DJ? Photographer? All on hold. I put the phone back in my pocket, gave the room one last look, and walked out the front door without a word. She wanted me gone, so I left. But I wasn't leaving quietly. The music cut off in the middle of the second song. At first, people thought it was just a glitch. Someone bumped the speaker maybe, or the DJ needed a moment. But then the lights above the food stations went dim. The caterers stopped mid-serve. Plates already halfway onto the tables were awkwardly pulled back. Waiters whispered to each other, some slowly backing toward the kitchen. Guests started looking around. That's when the wedding planner appeared, face tight, lips pursed. She walked straight up to the bride with a clipboard clutched to her chest and whispered something. The bride blinked, shook her head like she didn't understand. The planner whispered again, louder. Now people nearby were starting to hear. "Payment issue. Credit declined. The card's been frozen." I was sitting on a wooden bench outside the venue, just past the garden arch. The night air was cool, and I felt strangely calm. Inside, I could hear voices rising. I knew the exact moment when it all started crashing down. It was like the sound of a machine dying mid-spin. My son appeared first, weaving through the crowd with a confused look on his face. He looked between the DJ, the planner, the caterers, and finally the bride, who had gone pale under all that makeup. Her voice cut through the chaos. "Tell your dad to fix this." Her voice cracked near the end. I almost laughed. Guests started wandering toward the exit, murmuring to each other. A few tried to comfort the bride, but she shook them off. One of her friends looked like she was trying not to laugh. No one was eating. No music. Just quiet chaos. A few minutes later, my son came through the side door and saw me sitting there. "Dad," he asked like he didn't believe it. "What's going on?" "They said the card you used got shut off." I looked up at him. He still had his boutonniere pinned perfectly to his lapel. Still dressed like a groom. But now he just looked like a kid again, confused, overwhelmed. "She told me to leave," I said. "So I did." He blinked, waiting for more. I leaned back a little on the bench, along with my wallet. He didn't say anything right away, just stood there, as the sound of his wedding, the wedding I paid for, fell apart behind him. "She said what?" my son asked, standing there like the wind had been knocked out of him. I looked him dead in the eye. "She told me I wasn't welcome, that I should leave before I ruin her photos." He shook his head, almost laughing, like I'd just accused his bride of robbing a bank. No way she said that. "You must have misunderstood, Dad. She wouldn't." "I didn't misunderstand," I said quietly, "and I didn't come to ruin anything. I came to support you. I paid for this whole thing because I wanted to be here. But if she doesn't want me, I'm not staying. And I'm not paying." He stared at the ground, running a hand through his hair. I could tell he was trying to find a way out of it, something to excuse her, anything. Then, like fate had perfect timing, a couple of guests stepped outside. One was her cousin. I think her name was Kylie, holding a glass of wine and looking like she'd just stepped out of a war zone. I heard her, Kylie said, glancing at my son. She said it. The old man thing too. I thought it was some kind of twisted joke, until he walked out. The guy beside her nodded awkward. Yeah, dude, it was pretty rough. My son's mouth opened, then shut again. His face changed slowly, confusion turning to embarrassment, then hurt. He sat down beside me on the bench, elbows on his knees, staring at his hand. I don't care about the money, he said quietly. It's not about that. I care that she thinks she can talk to you like that. I waited. Let him sit with it. He needed to. He looked over at me. This isn't the first time. You know that, don't you? What do you mean? She always made it awkward when you called. Said I needed to set boundaries or unplug when we visited. She even tried to talk me into having you skip the rehearsal dinner last night. Said it'd be too many people. It clicked then. The way she'd kept me at arm's length. Always polite in public, but cold when no one was looking. I wasn't imagining it. I was just supposed to fund it all quietly and disappear. My son stood up. His face was hard now. Focused. I'll be right back, he said. And with that, he turned and walked straight back into the chaos, toward the mic. The room had quieted down. The band still hadn't resumed. Guests were standing around awkwardly, some whispering, others checking their phone. Half-eaten plates, untouched drinks, and a growing sense that something had gone very wrong. Then my son stepped up to the mic. He didn't look angry, just tired. Like something had finally cracked inside him, and now everything was spilling out. He tapped the microphone gently, and people slowly turned to look. I need everyone's attention for a moment, he said, his voice steady. The bride froze near the front table. Her smile returned automatically, but her eyes darted nervously. She looked like she wanted to stop him, but didn't want to make a scene doing it. I found out a few minutes ago, my son continued, that my bride told my father to leave. Not quietly, not politely, rudely, disrespectfully. After he paid for this entire wedding. A few people gasped. Others just stared at the bride. She stepped forward, hands up. Wait, no, baby, that's not what happened. It was the stress. I didn't mean it like that. He didn't yell. He just spoke clearly. You told him he wasn't welcome. You told him to leave before he ruined your photos. The same man who gave us everything today. Who gave me everything growing up. She tried to laugh it off. Everyone's tense today. It's just wedding pressure. Come on, we can talk about this later. No, he said, taking off his boutonniere and placing it on the table. There is no later. She blinked, frozen. What are you saying? You're not just marrying me, he said. You're marrying into this family. And if you can't respect that, then I'm out. Her mouth fell open. She reached for him, but he stepped back. I won't start my life with someone who sees my family as disposable. Especially not the man who gave us this day. Then he walked away. Just like that. Guests stared in stunned silence as the bride collapsed into a chair, sobbing loudly, makeup streaking down her face. Her mother rushed over, glaring at my son's back, but no one said anything to stop him. He walked right past me without a word. But I could see it in his face. He'd made peace with the decision. And as I watched the broken wedding scene unfold in front of me, I only had one thought. But that's not the end. That's just how it began. By the next morning, the internet was already on fire. The bride's family wasted no time flipping the story. Her mother had posted a long Facebook rant claiming I stormed out in a fit of jealousy and sabotaged the wedding out of spite. According to her, I was an overbearing father who couldn't handle letting go of control. People started sharing it. Friends of hers, distant relatives, even strangers in the comments, all calling me selfish, toxic, cruel. Screenshots floated around saying I pulled the plug because I was angry the spotlight wasn't on me. They painted me as some kind of attention-starved villain. Then the bride herself posted. She uploaded a filtered photo of her crying in her dress, captioned, I can't believe the man who promised to support us would ruin our wedding day like this. He was angry and aggressive. I was scared. This was supposed to be the happiest day of our lives. My name wasn't mentioned, but everyone knew. Comments poured in calling me a monster. A few people messaged me directly to tell me how disgusting I was. Then came the real kicker. She launched a GoFundMe. Help me recover from a stolen dream, the headline read. The story below claimed I had withdrawn all funding in the middle of the ceremony, causing irreparable emotional trauma. She asked for $25,000 to rebuild what was taken. People actually donated, hundreds of dollars within the first few hours. I sat in my kitchen, reading it all on my laptop. At first I laughed, out loud, sharp and bitter. But then the comments kept rolling in. Some of them started using my full name. People began tagging my small business page. My inbox filled up with hate. That's when it hit me. This wasn't going to fade away on its own. They weren't just lying. They were dragging my name through the mud. That night, I made a call. A friend of mine had a sister who was a lawyer. She picked up after the second ring, and I explained everything. What was said, what was done, and how they'd twisted the whole thing online. When I mentioned the GoFundMe and the fake abuse claims, she got quiet. "You have enough for a defamation case," she said, "especially if you've got screenshots and proof of payment." "I do," I said. "I kept receipts. I always keep receipts." There was a long pause. Then she said, "Good. Let's make this right." And I smiled for the first time in days, because if they wanted a fight, I was ready to take it. To court. My lawyer moved fast. Within a week, we filed a formal defamation claim. I had everything saved, screenshots of her Facebook lies, her GoFundMe scam, text messages from her friends admitting she was twisting the story, even old emails where I clearly laid out what I was paying for, line by line. My lawyer called it a slam dunk. Still, I wasn't doing it for money. I just wanted my name back. But what we found next changed everything. As part of building our case, my lawyer requested bank statements tied to the wedding vendors. Since I had made most of the payments up front, she wanted to make sure there was a clear paper trail. But something didn't line up. Roughly $11,000 was missing. I had wired that amount to the wedding coordinator a month before the ceremony, but it had never hit the vendor accounts. When we followed the trail, we discovered it had been rerouted. The coordinator was fake, just a shell company under a different name. And that name belonged to the bride's cousin. Digging deeper, we found the money had gone into a joint account, with the bride as a co-owner. She hadn't used the money for the wedding at all. She used it to lease a brand new luxury car. White BMW. I remembered seeing it parked outside her house a few weeks before the wedding, wrapped in a red bow. She said her parents gifted it to her. Turns out I did. I felt sick. She didn't just lie about me. She stole from me. My lawyer sat across from me, flipping through the file. "You want to press fraud charges too?" she asked. I hesitated for maybe 2 seconds, then nodded. "Absolutely." We got the paperwork started. I was angry now, not just because of what she did to me, but because she thought she could walk all over me and smile while doing it. That's when she showed up. It was a rainy Tuesday. I was drinking coffee in my front room when the doorbell rang. I opened it and there she was, mascara smudged, hair soaking wet, hands shaking. She was still wearing the ring. Her lips quivered. "Please," she whispered. "We need to talk." I didn't say a word, just stared at her. "I didn't mean for it to go this far," she said. "Please don't press charges. I'll give the money back. All of it. Just don't ruin my life." I let her stand there in the rain, but she had no idea what I had planned next. She stood there, dripping wet, hugging her arms like a child in trouble. I stepped aside and let her in, not out of kindness, but because I wanted to see how far she'd go. She sat on the edge of my couch like she was afraid it might bite her. I handed her a towel, but she barely touched it. Her hands trembled, her eyes filled with tears on command. I could tell. They weren't real. I'd seen plenty of bad acting in my time, and this was just another performance. "I wasn't myself that day," she started softly, voice cracking just enough. "Everything was so stressful. The wedding, my family, the pressure." I snapped. "I didn't mean to hurt you." I leaned back in the armchair, arms crossed. I didn't say anything. She looked up at me with wide eyes, studying my face. Then her tone changed, just a little sweeter, almost flirty. "I know you cared about us. I know you were just trying to help. Maybe I pushed too hard. I'm sorry, really." She stood up slowly, walking over to where I sat. Not too close. Just close enough to let the neckline of her shirt fall open a little more. Her fingers touched the edge of the armrest. "We don't have to go to court," she said softly. "You don't want this to get messy, do you?" Still, I said nothing. "I can give the money back," she said quickly. "All of it. I'll even post an apology online. I'll fix the GoFundMe. Just," she looked down, then back at me, "just don't ruin my life." That's when I saw it, the tiniest shift in her expression. The fake innocence dropped for half a second. Behind the teary eyes, she was calculating. She didn't feel bad. She wasn't sorry. She was trying to wriggle out of a trap she built for herself. I gave a slow nod. "Okay," I said. "Tell me everything." She smiled, relieved. What she didn't know was that my phone was sitting on the coffee table, recording the whole thing. Voice memos app running. Every word. Every lie. Every bribe. Every fake apology. She thought she was playing me, but I had finally learned who I was really dealing with. She finished talking and asked, "So, are we good?" I gave her the same polite smile she gave me at the wedding. "Sure," I said. "We're good." But we weren't, because the real show was just about to begin. 2 days later, the video went live. I uploaded it anonymously to a few key places: Reddit, Twitter, and a private Facebook group full of local event vendors. I gave it a simple title: "Bride who scammed her wedding funder comes to beg for forgiveness, then tries to manipulate." No names. No face shown, just her voice, clear as day, admitting she took the money. Offering to return it if I dropped the charges. Crying 1 second, flirting the next. It was all there. The internet did the rest. By that evening, it had over 50,000 views. People started connecting the dots. It didn't take long for someone to recognize her voice or her story. Screenshots of her GoFundMe, the fake Facebook posts, and her viral wedding meltdown from a guest's TikTok all got stitched together like a puzzle. And when it finally clicked for the public, they turned on her hard. Comments poured in. Wait, this is the woman who said her father-in-law was abusive? She literally blackmailed him on tape. Imagine blowing up your whole life over a BMW. The GoFundMe was reported hundreds of times. Within 24 hours, it was suspended. All funds frozen. Her sob story evaporated in the comment section, replaced by links to the video. Then the real damage hit. She got fired. Her company, some fancy event firm downtown, released a statement. We do not condone dishonest or fraudulent behavior. Effective immediately, name redacted, is no longer employed with us. I didn't feel bad. Not for a second. She built the lie. I just pulled the curtain. But I should have known she wouldn't go down quietly. 3 days after the video exploded, a letter showed up at my door. From her lawyer. She was suing me for emotional distress, digital harassment, and character damage. Said I had weaponized a private conversation to shame her publicly and cause her career loss. I almost laughed reading it. I handed the letter straight to my lawyer. She's trying to flip the victim card again, I said. My lawyer read through it and smirked. Let her try. That recording? Legal. No expectation of privacy in your home when she walked in and volunteered that information. Plus, she committed fraud. You still have that case. She wants a war, I said. She's gonna get one. Because now it wasn't just about me. She had tried to ruin my reputation, my family, my peace. Now she was about to lose everything else she had left. The courtroom was packed tighter than I expected. Reporters weren't allowed, but word had gotten out. People recognized the case from the video. Some were just curious. Others had their own stories about her and wanted to see how it played out. She walked in wearing a gray suit and a face full of forced sadness. Her hair was pulled back, no makeup this time, playing the part of the poor, ruined girl. She avoided looking at me. That was fine. I wasn't there for eye contact. My lawyer opened strong. She laid out the timeline, the payments I made, the fake wedding coordinator, the missing money, the BMW lease, the video confession, the defamation. Every screenshot, every text, every receipt was projected clearly for the judge to see. Then came her side. Her lawyer tried to spin it as a miscommunication, said she was overwhelmed, emotionally unstable, and that I'd taken advantage of her vulnerable state, that I baited her into a recorded conversation while she was trying to make peace. The judge didn't blink. Then they called my son to the stand. He stood tall, calm. She told my dad to leave the wedding, he said. Tried to cut him out of the day he paid for. Lied about it online. And when everything blew up, she flipped the story. He looked over at me then. My dad didn't ruin that wedding. She did. Her face finally cracked after that. She tried to whisper something to her lawyer, but her voice came out too loud. Everyone heard it. He's lying. The judge gave her a look that said enough. After closing arguments, the room went still. The judge leaned forward, looked straight at her. This isn't a case of hurt feelings, he said. This is a case of calculated deceit. You not only defamed the plaintiff, but you knowingly misused funds entrusted to you. You weaponized public sympathy for personal gain. He ruled in my favor. She was ordered to pay back every cent she misused, including legal fees, and slapped with a fine for attempting to misuse the legal system with her emotional distress suit. My name was cleared. Officially. I stood up and adjusted my jacket. Before leaving, the judge nodded at me. Anything else you'd like to say? I looked at her. Yeah, I said. Respect costs nothing, but disrespect can cost you everything. She didn't reply. She just sat there, hollowed out. Later, I watched her walk out of the courtroom alone. No friends. No family. No job. Just silence. But for me, I still wasn't finished. A year passed. Life went on. My son and I got closer again, closer than we'd been in years. After everything settled, he took time for himself, found a new job, moved into his own place, and started therapy. He didn't date for a while. Said he needed to figure out why he ignored so many red flags in the first place. We'd meet for coffee every Sunday. Just talk. Laugh. Sometimes about serious things, sometimes just football. It felt like having my boy back. As for her, she disappeared. Word got around that she lost her job, got blacklisted from a few event planning groups, and ended up moving back in with her parents. Her GoFundMe was shut down permanently. A few vendors even took legal action of their own for unpaid services. Her name was mud in every circle she used to shine in. I didn't think about her much after that, until she showed up at my door. It was a quiet evening. I was watching the game, half asleep, when the knock came. I opened it expecting a delivery, maybe a neighbor. But there she was. No makeup, hoodie, face pale. She looked like someone who hadn't slept properly in weeks. Her eyes met mine and filled with tears instantly. Her voice cracked before she even finished the first sentence. I lost everything, she said. Everything. I messed up. I didn't speak. Please, she whispered. Can we talk? Just talk. I know I don't deserve it, but I'm sorry. I really am. She looked around like she couldn't even believe she was here. You were the only person who ever really helped us, and I treated you like garbage. I know that now. I ruined it all. Her voice broke again. She took a small step forward. I don't want money. I don't have anyone left to talk to. She looked like a shadow of who she once was, but it didn't matter. I stood still for a moment. Let it settle. Then I said one word. No. She blinked. I didn't explain. Didn't rant. Didn't gloat. Just closed the door slowly. Behind it, I heard her start to cry. A quiet sob. No screaming. No drama. Just the sound of someone finally realizing the consequences had arrived, and were here to stay. I locked the door and went back to the couch. The game was still on. My coffee was still warm. And for the first time in a long time, everything felt exactly where it belonged.